Hi, Team Flower. How are you? Happy Mother's Day. Oh my goodness. I am so excited, not only for today's guest, but before we start talking about her, I'm excited about our community, about every single episode we've put out there with every single one of our beautiful, wonderful mothers have just been freaking amazing. The feedback, the joy, the comments, the community itself. You know, I always say I'm not a mom yet. However, the fact that I'm able to put a lot of different moms together so they don't feel alone, so they feel represented, for me is super duper important. We've had Lorraine and Joanna and Ixiana, and we're gonna have Maritere as well. We had Lacey. So sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much for each and every one of you who reached out, who were also participating in the giveaway, of course, because I just love what our community does. We're here for each other no matter what. So now we have Miss Burgos, Rossana Burgos, because I speak Spanish.
I love how you say that.
Rossana Burgos, there she is. And of course, you know her as Ehbee. I am super excited and super honored and thrilled to have you have you on board of Mother's Day. You're also our super special guest star, by the way, so you got to check out her other episode with us on May 31st, because that's the way we roll. And also as a super fan, I get really jittery. So first of all, hello, hi.
How are you, my love? And happy Mother's Day to you, to your family, to all the listeners, and to all women, because really, even if you don't have your own children, we are all mothers of the earth and of each other's children. So my love to you and to everyone listening.
Thank you so much. Oh, that was very special and sweet, without a doubt. I am a fan, of course, of your videos as your family, as a unit that you are, and your story. Before we dive in, I'm just going to say a couple more things, because that's how, like I said, we roll. For me, this is a very proud moment as well to have you here, because it's one of those feelings that, that I still believe in myself, that I'm able to make my dreams come true, that I'm able to sit down and talk to someone as powerful as you, and not even talking about the numbers and not about your fans and following, because it's not a matter of numbers, but of the quality of work that goes not only through your videos and through your family, but also your story. So I'm whenever I'm gonna think back of my early beginnings of whatnot, it's oh, Ehbee, of course, Rossana Burgos, duh. Super so proud of achieving this, and just not only achieving this, of course, but to have you in such a sweet and caring way as well, because you've been so thoughtful from the get-go. The moment that I contacted you, you're okay, let's do this.
Well,
So
I was
thank you.
impressed with you. You need to be so proud of yourself, and you're doing so well. And when I checked out your stuff initially, I just loved your authenticity. I just love people who are real, and you are the real deal, my dear. And so that's why it's a pleasure to be here with you, to talk to you, and to just share our stories, right? I think there's so much power in that, and we need to do that more, especially as women, and just support each other and let each other know that, we're here for each other.
I completely agree. I just thank you very much for that. I also must admit, and I shared the story on the Insta stories, and I'm going to say, I'm going to say it on the podcast, because it's a super important message as well. Within the message, we met the other day. Well, we recorded our second episode, this one in particular, actually, a few days ago, and halfway through, or almost done, about 40 minutes in, I realized I wasn't recording. So I went completely off script, and I started laughing, and I'm oh my God. And I felt like sharing the story because, one, your reaction was amazing. You just started laughing, and you're oh my God, it's happened to me too. And two, because of that, because as content creators, as entrepreneurs, as businesswomen that we are, it's okay to fail. It's technical difficulties we're humans, we're not robots. We forget certain things. So it's kind of also a story of saying everything happens for a reason, first of all, and you learn from everything. And also just shake it off and get back up, and you're not alone. You might see our feed being perfect and our family being perfect, and it's no, that's not the message. The message is we mess up, basically. But here, we're
100%.
gonna confess.
Yeah, we're all human and we make mistakes and we're allowed to do that. And I loved it because we both laughed it off.
We did. I was like, okay, like I know we're both really busy and time is money because we're doing a million things. However, it's like you just completely understood. And then you told me your story that like it has happened to you. So I was like, yes. So for those people out
Totally.
there, like it can happen. It's
Um,
fine. So a little bit about you before we start the interview is you're a person that I admire a lot. And of course, like I said, I was nervous. I was excited. I still am. You can tell it in my voice. You can see it. You can feel it. And there was still no self-doubt. And that's something like super important to me because one of the things I know about you is that you're also real and authentic. So what you said about me, it goes right back to you. So my way of being, you're like, oh, it's chill. Like I should calm down because you're a person and you're real. And that's something I think super important. A lesson that I've learned little by little, talking to you so many times. Um, First of all, it's amazing to fangirl and meet someone you admire. And second of all,
Thank you.
that you're as real can be. And you're just like me. And I love that you can see it not only through this podcast episode, but also like through your videos and feed. So yeah.
Thank you.
Your teachings are very wise lessons for me and definitely for a lot of people who follow you, obviously. A lot of the things that you teach, I knew. A lot of the things that you teach, I teach. And a lot of things I learn. Everything for me in particular, one of my favorite words, it's magic. You are pure fire and grace. You are brave and strong and powerful and free. You have taken, well, I have taken, better said, I have taken your words of advice very seriously throughout your videos, throughout anything you've done in general. And you're here telling us your struggles, not only in this episode, but our May 31st episode, as a woman and as a mom, because you believe in teaching everything we know. So once again, thank you for being here and sharing part of your world with us.
Wow, what an intro. Thank you so much. That's wow. Are you trying to make me cry right off the bat?
Yes. I want to see who like cries the fastest. That's going to be my new contest in these episodes.
That was beautiful. Thank you. And right back at you, girl.
I think the one that we were supposedly recording, I feel like you're the one who broke the record there, but sadly it wasn't being recorded. But I feel like we're close enough. Just a few minutes in. All right.
And we're
So
recording, right?
yes, so I'm very sure about that. It says recording in the top right corner. Great. I didn't have the top left corner, but still.
I had to throw that in.
Of course. All right. So now we can definitely deep dive in through a million and one questions, what it feels like, but definitely questions precise and to the point. So tell us a bit about your family and your journey. For those people who don't know who she is, let's give yourself, a little quick introduction of who you are.
Sure. So I am Rossana Burgos, but the world knows me as Mama B. Together with my family, we're known as the Ehbee family. And we've been making funny videos online for about 7 or 8 years. And there was never a goal, to become famous. Actually, we were very anonymous with who we are, where we live. The goal was just to make people laugh and to encourage families to have fun together and to poke fun at themselves. And our videos went viral. They went around the world. And now we're super happy and proud that we do have a following pretty much in every country. And it's just been, quite the ride that we never imagined, but we're super grateful for it.
It is so super impressive though, because of that, because we're going back to that word of, being authentic. Because everyone, when they see your videos, somewhere or other, and some one random video, doesn't have to be the same one, feels a little bit represented. And you're like, hey, my family does that. Or I was that kid,
Yeah. And they can laugh at themselves, right? And that's the thing, is it's all about not showing this perfect picture of the perfect family. And of course, that's my phone ringing. You want to talk about imperfection?
Exactly.
I just think we live in this world where we're all trying to show this perfect life and perfect person and perfect face, but where's the fun in that? No, it's about like laughing at ourselves and sharing in our moments of both laughter and pain and joy, and that's the human journey, right?
That's the thing, like, don't take life too seriously. Like, when I
Amen.
thought we were recording and we weren't, it's like, what are you gonna do? Break down and cry and be mad?
Yeah.
Why? Just shake it off. It's gonna be
No.
okay. And I know certain
Yeah.
situations are different and whatnot, of course, of like whatever we were recording and whatnot, but don't take life too seriously. Like, yeah,
And I
definitely.
think that was a test, actually. I think that was a test, for me, especially as Mama Bee, to profess to be this motherly figure. I believe that was a test. And it's when we show that love and compassion to another human being, I think that the universe smiles at us, when we were able to laugh and just share in that joy and not condemn each other for making a mistake. Right.
Oh, I
And so
agree.
we
You
both,
just started laughing. Like when I told my friends, like, what you do? And I'm like, she just started laughing. Like,
yeah,
she got it.
of course. Why would I make you feel bad? I wouldn't want someone to do that to me. So
Exactly.
yeah, I think we both passed the test that day, Ariadna.
Dang. And I got to earn like super more time with you. So I was like, I'm okay with this. I'm okay. She's okay. We're good. We're cool. So, and I had like 4 or 5 days to like calm my ish down and be not less excited because I'm going to be equally as excited, but just kind of be like, okay, let's get through the questions. you know?
I love it.
So, thank you for sharing about your family and journey. There's going to be loads more information about that on the next episode of May 31st. So now we're going to deep dive into you as a mom because it is Mother's Day after all, and you're part of this beautiful episodes that I've just decided to make this year. So you have an account of your own where you tell us loads about your story, about how to make the world a better place. So tell us a bit more about that, please.
Yeah, so when we achieved success with the AB family and making people laugh, I wanted to do more. I wanted to show more of who I am in my heart. And who I am in my heart is someone with depth. Like I love conversations where, we can laugh, we can cry, we can go deeper than just, the outside, the superficial, the exterior. Like I love people who can say to me, do you know what happened to me? And then they share whatever it is, and then I can share my situation. And then not that we commiserate, like I don't like commiserating. I like kind of learning from each other and realizing that we're not alone, and that a lot of the experiences that we have, sometimes we think, oh, I'm so alone, no one understands. No, we do understand, but it's through that shared communication and empathy. Really, I think that that's where success comes in, is just from sharing those stories with each other. And so that's what I try to do on my channel. It's just being a voice, not just for kids who are, growing up in this very confusing world, but also for women. I have a passion for women, empowering them, making them strong. And also for men too, because I think that men, we haven't really raised our sons properly in our world, and men deserve just as much love as we get, and we need to do a better job of raising sons. And so a lot of males also follow my channel, because they see what happens when a woman is strong and powerful. Like, don't be afraid of strong, powerful women. You should be feeding us, right? Because that's how the world is going to heal, is by more feminine, powerful energy.
I'm just in love with everything that you give out to the world. I really am. I've talked to different kind of moms throughout, throughout A my life in general, obviously, but mainly B right now through the special podcast episodes that we're doing, and a few of them just have boys. I think two out of the top of my head, and they were saying basically that they were blessed to have boys, as they would have been blessed to have girls as well, but because they have boys, they thought about it in a way to make sure their boys are sensitive, or that's okay to cry, of course, that they know how to help women in general and feel that kind of equality that is needed. And you have the best of both worlds, obviously, because you have a boy and a girl, so you're able to see and feed both sides. So I'm really happy that you also have men in your audience who kind of can see that, feel represented, even if they're teenagers or not, just in general, because it needs to also, it's a message to be heard. So kudos for that, without a doubt.
Totally. Yeah, real men cry, right?
Yep.
Real men lift other women up. Like they don't stifle them. They don't take their voice away. Real men water the women around them, right? Like a plant. And
I
so, yeah,
completely agree. I love
absolutely.
that.
We need to change the conversation.
So, tell us, let's talk about, being a woman and a mother. So, kind of a side to our question, but the same kind of, uh, area. How would you describe being a woman?
Well, being a woman is it's quite interesting actually, because I was raised in a home and in a time where uh, being a woman meant being sweet and not being very loud and not really talking about how you felt. Um, and I think that as a woman, you're raised in believing that if you're beautiful, that'll solve all your problems, or messages like marry rich. And so as a woman, I've kind of had to find my way in, first and foremost, I believe that education is key. Like, I believe that people mess with you less when you're really smart and when you can state facts, and it just adds to your strength. But also, as a woman, I needed to learn how to love my body, because I felt like my body had been bastardized from the time I was a child. And so, we live in a world where little girls are considered sexy, and stuff like that really disgusts me. And so, from in my home, I removed the word sexy. It wasn't allowed in my home because I didn't want that to be the end goal for my daughter. I wanted my daughter to be raised in a home where she was encouraged to be smart, to travel the world, to just, figure out who she is inside, and not to worry so much about the whole beauty aspect. And because ultimately we get to decide what beauty means. Because if you listen to media, you'll never be beautiful enough. You'll never be good enough. Your lips will never be big enough. you know? And
Booty
so,
would never be big enough either.
right, and so I define what beauty means to me, and what beauty means to me is recognizing the beauty in your soul. And so, to me, I don't fall in love with faces. I fall in love with souls and with hearts,
Same.
and with intellectual minds. And if we can sit down and have a brilliant conversation, and we can have big ideas, then you've won me over. Like, I am there. I'm your best friend. And so I think that with being a woman, it's just really knowing who you are, connecting to your innermost voice, and just loving yourself, because that's another thing no one taught me to do, is how to love myself. And so from a young age, I was trying to find love in all the wrong places, like in really bad places. And so with my kids, that's what I've tried to do, is teach them how to love themselves before they can ever go out and try to find love in the world. Love it's an inside job.
I completely agree with everything you just said. That beauty is inward, without a doubt. That we have so many social standards about everything just because we're women and we have to look certain ways. I love that you raise your daughter, that sexy is not a thing. Like, maybe when she's
Mhm.
20 something, of course, and she can add her own spin to it, obviously, but as just growing up. And I know we talked about this in the episode that we did, but not really didn't record. And we talked about loving ourselves to the max and the trajectory, because it's not really instant and whatnot. Before we go into
Mhm.
further into that little detail, how would you define being a mother?
being a mother being a mother's hard. I'm not going to sugarcoat it and saying, oh my god, it's so easy, everyone should do it, everyone should have 15 kids. No, it's really hard. It's very fulfilling, it's very gratifying. I have never experienced love for another human being like I do for my children. And my kids have asked me in the past, do you love us the same as you love Papa? And I said, no, I don't. The love that I have for the two of you is so beyond words. Of course, I love my husband. But if there was a choice, to toss him off a boat to save my kids, like in a heartbeat, because these are two human beings that I chose to bring into the world. And it's my job to be their mentor, their teacher, their guide, to give them unconditional love, but also discipline, because I need to raise them in a way where when they go out into the world, that they have all the knowledge and the confidence that they have, so that they're not calling me, when they're 25 years old, mama, I can't make a decision. No, they're going to be so strong and firm in their power and so level-headed. And that's my job. It's my job to teach them how to do that, to self-parent and to just be responsible, right? And so because of that, like, I don't have conversations with them that are inappropriate or that are not age appropriate. Like, I make sure that their mental health is number one before anything else. And I'm always checking in on them and just being that person who always is their safety net. And so, like, I don't like to be a helicopter mom, but I also recognize that I have this role to really create this human being that is strong, powerful, loving, kind, and doesn't only focus on themselves, but is focusing on the entire world and just adding more love and value. Sorry, that
Exactly
went on
that.
for a while.
No, do not be,
But I
don't
figured
be
it's a
sorry.
Mother's Day episode, so I might as well talk about the whole mother role.
Yeah, exactly. There's plenty more conversation to be had about being a mother, especially today. Um, I definitely appreciate everything, obviously, and definitely one of the sentences that stuck out the most, for me at least, was, I'm the one who decided to put them on this earth.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people, not that I'm a mom just yet, but I feel like a lot of people forget that. And for me, because it's something that I've had through my struggles of my whole life, I want to make sure that whenever I do have kids, to remember that it's like, I'm the one who made a decision to have you. So I want to make sure that, like you said, like, I'm going to be your mentor, I'm going to be your savior, I'm going to be like, do whatever I can to shape you into this human being to help the world as well. So, and I love that you said that, because for me, that's like super fundamental for a person to have, much like you were saying before, like inner beauty is like the first thing. So the fact that you're telling me these things, I mean, I already knew I liked you, obviously so, but now, when I know these things about you even more so, of course, it's like, I get where you're coming from, and I appreciate that a lot, because more people need to remember that fact that, they're not your property either, but you're like, you've made them, they weren't asked to be born, basically.
Right.
So I love that. I really do, because
And they need
it's a
us.
huge difference. Yeah.
Like, it just makes such a difference when they know that you are on their team. And like I always say, what kind of mother are you? Are you the kind of mother who, when your child is leaving for school, you're in the kitchen on your cell phone and the child leaves and closes the door and locks it and walks away? Or are you the mother standing at the doorway and waving to them, and they keep looking back and they keep seeing you waving to them and blowing them kisses? Which mom are you? Because that's going to make a big difference in the kid that you raise, and the output, right? The input is going to reflect the output.
Exactly. I love that metaphor as well, because it's a very clear one, and especially in the world that we live in nowadays with technology everywhere. And for me, it's something that, I mean, that can go on for a whole different side of conversation, but it is like using technology less, or using technology the right kind of way is better said, because you got to be present with them, even though there's a million one distractions as an adult, and as a child, obviously even more so. You gotta know, like, no, I'm with you right here, I'm cheering you on, etc.
But we
So
know that it doesn't always happen, right? Like, I've been at the park and there's been, like, a little kid on the swing, and they're like, mama, mama, look at me, watch me. And the mom's on their phone on Facebook. And it drives me crazy. Like, all I want to do is yell, dude, get off your phone, go play with your kid. Don't you
me
see that
too.
they're calling you? And it drives me insane. And I've actually gone and swung their kids on the swing. And then the women are like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I'll come. And it's like, oh my God, you are missing out on the most important moments. Like, this is what's going to connect you to your kid. This is what's going to build that relationship. Dude, get off
Get
your
off your
phone.
phone. The amount of times I say get off your phone is impressive.
Yeah.
And it's something I work every single day, and throughout these episodes that I've been recording with all of you, and even not only the episodes, but just because I know I want to be the best mom I can be. And I'm not saying this is a competition. I'm not saying that it's like, oh my God, I want to be a perfect mom, because there's no such thing. But yes, throughout the period of waiting to be a mom, let's put it that way, make sure I get the right kind of tools, because your words of advice really stick to me. So for example, for me, I know the phone's a really big deal, and I put it away as much as I can. even
Mhm.
without kids. Like, I'm very conscious of like, no, right now it's family time. I'm going to be spend time with my husband. I'm going to spend time with my dog. Like,
Yeah.
even something, it's not even simple. It's a creature. It's not a human being, I was going to say, but it's a living thing. So it's like, I'm here spending time with you. And I just feel like it's super important. And I've been an au pair many times. I've been a babysitter many times. I've been a teacher, a language teacher especially for children many times, for a long time. And most of all, I've been, like, my top one is a foster mom. And throughout every single experience that I've had with kids, you see that in the parks, especially, of course, or waiting for them
Mhm.
after school and they come like with the latest drawing. Yeah, it's 3 lines,
Yeah.
but give your kid a break. He's 4, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, don't miss out on those opportunities, because those are the ones that make it or break it, of
Right.
course. So yeah, definitely. So how do you difference both then, between being a woman and being a mother, or do you?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, right? Is in not losing yourself and not losing who you are and what your ambitions are, whatever they were. And so to me, yes, I love being a mother and a wife. I love serving my family, but there were so many still dreams and goals that I had and that I still have that is outside of those roles. And so it's about, being that person to them, but not forgetting what I need. And so there's moments where it's like, guys, I need an hour to myself, or I need to go take a bath. And I need to be very honest in saying, I cannot be the superhero for everybody. And I do need time for myself as well, because you can't pour from an empty cup. And so I am a huge advocate for self love. And again, no one taught me how to do that, but I need to feed my energy tank so that I can have unlimited energy, not just for my family, but for the world now. Like, I want to be that source of love. But, the most compassionate people in the world have very strong boundaries. You have to be very clear with your boundaries and what you need, what you require in order to flourish. And you have to do that with the people that you live with. They need to know, when you're at your breaking point, when you need a break, when you don't have the energy to cook and you need to order out. So it's about finding what that balance is, but also being very vocal in your needs.
And I love that, because it's also something not only super important, but the way that you explained it is super clear. It's not easy. It's not easy.
It's
As
not
women that
easy.
we are, as period, as women that we are, we're very, we're here to serve others most of the time, or most of us. I feel like all of us at the end of the day. So we're starting, thankfully and luckily, to separate the two and understand what self-love is, what self-care is. And I I practice what I preach. I say it all the time through any of my social media, through any of my platforms. Anytime you hear an interview, I just feel like it's super important that you do take those breaks. And this is coming from me, that I'm not a mom just yet, and I'm an entrepreneur, and I work really long days because I want to get my goals done, and I want to really, make this life for me and for my husband, and my future family, of course. So it is something that I have to, like, remember and stop during my day. Say, did you have a break today? Did you do something for yourself? Like, what do you need? And it's not
Mhm.
a matter of quantity, I always say, because people forget. And this goes through any single way, shape, or form. Like, the marketing has, like, oh my God, I have to have 100K followers. Like, no, it's not the
Mhm.
quantity. I mean, yeah, it's not the quantity. It helps, obviously, at some point of the life, but it's the quality. So if I'm working 12 hours without a break, is it going to be the same quality as 6 hours?
No.
Having the other six? No. So it's kind of the same what you're saying, of course. Not kind of the same, it's literally the same what you're saying, just as a mother aspect of understanding that, sweethearts, honeys, I love you all very much. Mama needs a half an hour nap. I'll be
Yeah.
back.
And it's actually a really good message for our daughters, right? That they are allowed to go to the gym. Like, I've had women message me saying, Mama B, like, I know you love fitness and you work out, but my husband is not willing to take care of the kids while I go to the gym. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, my husband is like, yes, leave the kids with me. Of course, you want to go work out and get healthy and feel good about your body, which is, wink, wink, going to ultimately be good for him and our intimacy. Intimacy. Like,
Exactly.
hello, do I need to really explain that part? But it's like, how can you not want to encourage the people that you love to do the things, especially if it's healthy. And so,
Exactly.
yeah, you deserve time to yourself, whether that's going for a walk or sitting outside and having a cup of coffee. Like, yeah, we need to change that ideas, and we need to teach our daughters as well that it's okay for them to do things that they love. Like, I'm always saying to my daughter, do you want me to draw you a bath? And she's like, oh my God, yeah, that would be amazing. And I'm like, Abby, I want to teach you. Like, this is what you do for yourself. Take a bath, put some Epsom salts in there, some lavender oil. You need to take care of yourself. Don't ever expect anyone else to do that for you. You know what you need, and
You
do it.
I love that. You know what you need. And my sentence was going to be, no one else can take better care of you than yourself, because you
Absolutely.
know what you need. So it
Absolutely.
ties in. I do agree. I'm lucky enough to have the husband and I have, not only because of who he is, but I feel like because I know who I am and I know who I deserve, much like you know how you are and you deserve. You have Papa B and I have my husband, and he is happy when every time I go for a walk by myself, every time I read, every time I do anything by myself, and not to get rid of me by any means, but because it's self-growth and happiness. He's always at home, me like, did you take a break today, love? Like, did you, like,
Yeah.
on top of that? And that's once again another beautiful message for your teenage daughter, of course, but for our future generations to have and acknowledge that as well, because we are allowed to have breaks. We're like, how can we not? You know what I mean? Like, let's do this together.
Yeah. Our families, they don't need a perfect mother. They need a happy one.
Exactly. And this kind of ties into like the next question, in the sense of, because you're so into this change and because you're so persistent in wanting to make sure that you have enough self-care, and also your kids, especially your daughter, this tracks back to your childhood, because you
Mhm.
also talk about breaking those cycles and trauma.
Yeah. How much time do we have with this one?
Hey, you're always welcome to come back anytime. Like, you are the best superstar, like, guest, like, come back
Yes, yes.
anytime.
Yeah, what a difference. Well, my childhood, from the outside, it was fine. I had food, clothing, a roof over my head, but I was very confused from a very young age. Like, when I looked at the world, I was like, what the hell? Like, no one understood anything. Like, I figured like the adults had no idea what they were doing, and definitely my parents did it. And I don't blame them. They just repeated the cycles of dysfunction from their parents, and they never changed. Like, they never evolved. They never asked the big questions. And so my father grew up in an environment with a lot of trauma, and he brought that into our home. And he was very angry a lot. My dad had like definite anger issues, and as we know, under anger is fear. But when you're a kid, you learn to walk on eggshells, and you learn not to really say much, because no matter what you say, it's wrong, because it doesn't it doesn't align with what they say. And so I learned from a very young age just to kind of keep quiet, put a smile on my face. If I did really well in school, then my parents were very happy. And I just remember there was a lot of fighting between them. There was a lot of like yelling and anger, and so I would spend a lot of time in my room. And my mother, she was unavailable. Like, she worked nights, she worked in a bank, and at night, I really missed my mom. I needed my mom there. And so as a little girl, I remember I would go and I would smell her pillow at night, and I would write her notes, and I would cry because, smelling her, I wanted her there to hug me. But I didn't have that. I didn't have goodnight kisses or someone reading me books. And so I disassociated with her from a young age, because she was just, again, it was kind of like being raised in like the 1600s, the ideals that they had. And so I just started to look around for positive female role models from a very young age, because I knew I didn't want to be like my mom.
So that's exactly what, you also practice what you preach. Hence why I always like, when we go down a little bit deeper within your videos and within your message, it's definitely that, to make sure that, history doesn't have to repeat itself. We can learn from it. And I feel like that's something that we can definitely see from you, because if
Mhm.
anyone who knows you, follows you, can see the difference. And that also kind of lines up to, of course, our next question, which is what I was saying all along, that I've followed your family since you started, basically. And to be honest, obviously, so like my favorite word says, or one of my favorite words is magic. You're pure magic to see from any other angle, from the other side of the screen, etc. You're innovative, you're full of laughter, and you have really good discipline. So even though it might be like a broad question, like tell us your experience and goals, and it's like a curriculum question or an interview question, but it is something that we want to know about how you changed it, you know, how you went from point A, from your, you know, traumatic childhood in that particular sense, to point B, I have children now, what steps did I take to make sure that it's better for them?
I think it was just a conscious awareness of my role as a parent. And so you're given this child, right, with a clean slate who comes into the world, and their initial reaction is to smile, right? Like you look at a baby and automatically they smile. But with social conditioning and the conditioning of our parents, and especially their trauma, their unhealed trauma, you start to, you know, write stories on the soul of these children, and they begin to not be who they were meant to be. And so from a very, you know, when my children were first born, I recognized the important role that I have as a mother, as a teacher, as a guide. And don't get me wrong, I've made a lot of mistakes. You know, when they were kids, we were surrounded by so many toxic relatives, and I wasted a lot of time on these relatives and listening to them, and just the garbage that they were spewing from their mouths. And, you know, they would judge me for my parenting. But at the end of the day, I knew that I had to listen to my heart. And when my heart was telling me was completely different from the conditioning that I had received from my parents, from the messages I had from society. And so I just started to parent my kids from a place of total love, like unconditional love, understanding, and putting myself in their situation of, you know, being this small person who doesn't understand anything about the world. And I have that opportunity to teach them, but in a way where, like, I just fuel the love in their hearts that is going to have a positive effect on their self-esteem, their education, their morals, you know, not being jealous, not comparing themselves to other people, because that doesn't lead to any happiness, you know, just building up their self-esteem and making them the strongest people that they can be so that they don't have to heal from their childhood.
Of course, you left me speechless as always. I remember in that famous unrecorded episode, you did say something, and I want to repeat your words, and is you want to make sure that your kids don't end up in therapy in 15 years.
Yeah.
And it stuck with me, and it's going to still, it stuck with me not only when you said it, just as a whole, because I've also had a very traumatic childhood and teenagehood, and I'm breaking through those traumas as well to make sure that whenever we have kids, they are what you just said, the healthiest thing possible, of course, mind, body, and soul. You reminded me as well of like the little, I share the story from time to time, the video, not yours in particular, but I was watching a video the other day, randomly TikTok, I'm assuming, because I just love the app, but before it was a thing, I remember I remember when it was Musical.ly, basically. Anyways, it was a little baby girl. I mean, her mom was holding her little baby girl, and the captions were like, do you remember when this happened? And then she showed little baby girl who's like 6 months, 8 months, you know, and as soon as she saw herself in the mirror, she smiled.
Mm-hmm.
And every single time I see that, not only like that age, but like 1-year-old, the 2-year-old, 3-year-old, it kind of continues. And she's like, remember that we used to love ourselves. I remember that we used to come like with that inner love. So even though that kind of topic is more about inner love, going into what you said, you know, when you're a baby, you start smiling right away. You do, it's a clean slate. It's a, you know, blank cassette.
Right.
So it is fundamental, of course, to like make sure you know exactly what you want to give to them. Not that you're always going to know the answers, but know enough to have that structure.
Well, you need to heal your trauma, right? You need to
Exactly.
heal your trauma, because that's going to make you a better parent, and that's going to eliminate you from projecting your garbage, right? And all of the stuff that's in your head that hasn't been resolved onto this precious little person who wasn't there. They weren't there for the pain, and it's not their fault, but we all have triggers, right? And so we don't understand why certain things will happen, and we go crazy and we get so angry, or we're insecure, And so certain moments will trigger us because it triggers our insecurity and our fear. And this whole stuff happens because we don't understand what's happening inside of us. We're so focused on the world, on materials, on shopping, on being beautiful. But inside, there's this whole big earthquake or tsunami happening inside of us. But that's what we need to heal before we can even decide to be parents. Like I always said, there's no such thing as bad kids, only bad parents.
Of course. I mean, I agree completely. Like, it's not the kid's fault at all that they get,
Absolutely not.
treated that way, or like they have backlash of something, once again, that happened a million years ago and they weren't born yet. It's a little bit of, we're going on a little bit of sidelines with this conversation in particular. However, Ariana has heard the next question, so I'm just gonna go follow the next one. No, I had so sorry, as always. It was basically aligning well, we're gonna skip forward, people. Stick with me, Team Flyer. It'll come back. You've been here before. You know my questions usually come back. Let's go to the next one. And can you tell us some tips and tricks and your steps? Now it's coming back to me, the question. But anyways, tips and tricks on how you educate them. Because the way you do that, the way that we see it through the screen, through a lot of your videos, is very open communication, is very, it's definitely delightful to see, because every time you guys are in the car, for example, recording something, or literally just, she's showing you her TikToks or her memes or whatever, it's very openly, so very, it starts with your heart, basically. Like, you can tell. That's what I'm trying to say. So how did you, or what tools did you do to make sure that that was a thing throughout their whole lifetime and beyond?
So from the time that they were very young, is open communication, but very age appropriate communication. So meaning that when they were small, it was conversations like, okay, make sure that no one touches your pee-pee, make sure that, your body is yours and that no one puts their hands on it. But of course, as you get older, you have more mature conversations. And, we have family meetings when there's stuff to discuss, and we can talk for 2, 3, 4 hours sometimes. But it's about creating an environment where they don't feel judged. Like, I always, before I had children, I wanted to have the type of child who would tell me everything because they knew that I wasn't going to judge them or be harsh with them. Does that mean that I'm perfect and that I never get angry? No, of course not. Like, I tell my kids, if you've made the same mistake 5, 6 times, we need to talk and figure this out and what's happening. But my whole role as a mother, because, you've never been a parent, but I have been a child, I have been a teenager, I have been a young adult, and I can only tell you where I went wrong in my life and the consequences that I suffered. And I want to save you from that. Does that mean that you're never going to fall? Does that mean that you're never going to have struggles? Absolutely not. Actually, I do want you to have struggles. I do want you to fall because you're going to learn from them. But I want you to protect you. I want to protect you as much as I can. And for those falls to be tiny, not to hurt you so much that now you can't bounce back. I want you to be resilient. I want you to fall, but I want you to brush yourself off and laugh. Like, I use the example of yoga, for example. I love yoga. I practice a lot of yoga. And I used to think that the good yogi was the one who never fell out of their postures. But the more advanced I became, I recognized that the real yogi is the one who falls out and gets back in with a smile on their face and zero judgment towards themselves. And that's what parenting is. Parenting, it's just guiding them, holding their hand. And at some point, I'm going to let go. I'm going to let go of their hand and they're going to fly. That's what I say to them is unconditional love is I want you to soar higher than I ever have. I want you to be happy. Whatever happiness means to you doesn't mean financial, because I know a lot of people with a lot of money and they're miserable. I want you to define what happiness and success means to you. And I want you to have a long and happy life. And I want you to call me from the other side of the world when you're an adult and say, Mom, I'm good. I'm happy. I'm everything is good. not, oh, I got all this drama. I'm so unhappy. I'm broke. I need money. No, I want you to self-parent and be autonomous. I want you to stand on your own 2 feet and just fly and just go wherever you need to go. And so I think it's just a lot of conversations, a lot of like security, being their security net, but also allowing them to experience the world age appropriately and being very careful of who I allow around them.
Yes to all that and more.
Yeah.
You've made me a little teary-eyed, and for many, many different reasons, because I do love exactly what you're saying, and I feel like that message is very powerful and it needs to be heard more and more in every single platform shape, way, and form, because it's the new lifestyle, not lifestyle, but that's the new way of teaching and educating children. I love what you said about being a yogi, because I do love my yoga as well. And I leave the position, or I get out of the position, or fall out of the position, better said, many times. And I've done yoga for years. And for me, actually, I'm the one who would laugh, like kind of like how we didn't record the last episode, basically. Kind of like I'm just gonna laugh it off. I mean, maybe not laugh literally when I'm doing yoga, but the fact of like, oh, it's okay, I'll keep on trying again. So I love that you have that reference, because if anyone out there is listening like me, who's not a mom yet, but who can understand being a yogi or any of the sort, can understand that reference so well, because you compared it to like, this is what motherhood is, what parenthood is, just picking yourself back
Totally.
up.
And I'll even go one step further on the yoga thing, and you're going to love this then, is I had a situation where I was in a yoga class and I was practicing next to my teacher. So one of my teachers who I love and adore. And we were in Warrior 3, right? So we're balancing on one leg. And she fell out of her pose. And my mind says to me, oh, look, Rosanna, she fell out and she's a teacher. Well, I'm a teacher now too, but at the time I wasn't a yoga teacher. But so my mind is saying, look, you're so much better than her. And that was the first moment I recognized my ego, was because I could hear my ego in my head, but my heart was saying, how can you say that? This is your teacher and you love her and you respect her and she is a human just like you. And maybe tomorrow you're going to fall out of your pose. And that doesn't mean that you're any less than anyone else. And so at that moment, I recognized that my ego was arguing with my heart.
And I do love that, because I love that topic of like not deciding, but the whole interior debate of like ego and heart all rolled into one. And it aligns a lot with not only every platform, of course, with me, myself, and I, with granted, there's a lot of me everywhere in anything I do,
Right.
but it's something that I've had very much all my life to make sure that balance. And you reminded me actually what you just said, like, oh, she's a human like you.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I really wanted to make clear that I am fangirling, because I am, obviously, but then I realized, oh, you're a human being. There's probably someone you've met throughout your life and your career that you're like, oh my God, this is so and so. So I was like, oh, you've been in my position, you understand that. And then that's kind of like, it calmed me down as well to be like, it's okay. Like, we all have those moments. So for good and for the bad, of like when the ego is talking or the heart is talking, of course. So I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
My pleasure.
The sideline that I was saying before was, when we were talking about they come with a blank cassette, my really quick sidetrack question was, before you were a parent for the very first time 15 years ago, because your baby boy, well, your oldest actually just turned 15 this week,
Right.
last week, a week ago, basically.
Right.
So happy birthday to him.
Thank you.
Happy birthday to you, because it's your birth space day of becoming a mom.
Aww.
So you should also be like, I celebrate my mom on my my brother's birthday is particular on both, but definitely my brother's, because he's older than me. So I'm like, this is the day you became a mom, and that's like huge. So
that's so sweet.
Happy 15 years to you too.
Thank you.
When you were talking about having those steps before becoming a mom and to know who you are first, was there something particular you did, or were you just also learning along the way? Like when he came into your life, were you conscious of like making that change, or like did you make more changes after he was here?
I think I made the conscious decision to be a good parent the moment I found out I was pregnant.
Okay.
And so when I realized that I had this, magnificent miracle growing inside of me. And I found out it was a son because I hadn't lost a child before him. And so I was considered a high risk pregnancies. And so I knew I was having a boy. And here's this woman who's been through a lot of trauma at the hands of males for her whole entire life. And now God gave her a son. And so I can either resent him, I can punish him for all the pain I've suffered in my life, or I can teach this boy to be the most incredible human being, a gentleman, loving, caring, kind, secure in his masculinity. And that doesn't mean ever raising his hand or his voice to a woman. And so from a very young age, I would teach my son things like, you need to keep your hands and your body parts to yourself. And eventually you'll understand what that means. But it's my job to teach him to be an incredible reflection of what a man really is. And so there were a couple of examples, like he was a little boy, I think he was 7 or 8, and he was in Taekwondo. And his Taekwondo teacher, very old school, very disciplinarian. And one day my son started to cry because he was sparring and he got punched or kicked. I can't remember what it was. And my son started to cry. And his teacher came up to him and he said, "No, Roberto, you don't cry. Boys don't cry." And I said to him, actually, he's allowed to cry. He is 100% allowed to cry. And I hope that your ideals change in the school and that you never say that to other boys, because boys should be allowed to express their emotions and their sadness and not to keep it bottled up inside, because that's going to come out in 10 or 15 years and it's going to be directed at their girlfriends or their mothers or their wives. So absolutely they should cry. And so it's just been situations where, you always have a choice as a parent. And I believe that I can make them or I can break them with my words, with my actions, with my belief system. And so it's just a conscious awareness moment to moment, that everything that I do, that I say, that I model is defining who they are and who they're going to be in the future.
I knew you had a perfect answer to that. And once again, I was listening to him, I really want you all to hear us out. We're not perfect. We're not here to make it look easy whatsoever, because it's not. Whatever it is that we do in our lives, in my particular case, once again, be an entrepreneur, having a lot of hats in different places. And, I like the behind the scenes, because it's hard stuff, of course, and that's what we're here for as well. But hopefully throughout these questions and throughout obviously your answers, you all would understand where to begin and where to start, without a doubt. Okay. So how do you see the change from your kids from when they were little to now teenagers?
So I think the greatest change, when they're little, it's a lot of physical needs, right? So it's, giving them a bath, making sure they're clean, that there's a routine, that they're fed, stories reading to them. Whereas now it's very much mental, it's emotional, it's spiritual, it's conversations. I love picking their brain and not interrupting them, being a good listener as a parent, letting them speak. Where I've observed other families where the parents are doing all the talking and the kids are just like the audience, just nodding, and they can't wait to get out of there. In our home, it's the opposite. The kids take the main stage. We are the supporting actors, and we listen to them. And it's really about teaching them that inner awareness and that intuition. I'd like to say I'm connected to my spirituality, to my purpose in life, and just teaching them how a lot of times when you just change that perspective of the glass being half full instead of half empty, it can change so many things. And so, things like gratitude. No one taught me gratitude. That's something I learned, in the last 10 years. And it's something that I'm teaching my kids now, is being grateful for every morsel of food, every piece of bread, not just because we're these YouTube sensations or these social media, stars, as people call us, doesn't mean we don't eat leftovers. Of course we eat leftovers, because I've been to the other side of the world. I've been to Ethiopia, to Bangladesh, to Jordan. I've seen poverty. I've witnessed children who were eating out of the trash. And so I don't take anything for granted. And so it's these conversations, it's these life lessons that really awaken their soul. And so we can have superficial conversations, which are very easy, or we can have deep, profound conversations about the meaning of life. Who are you? What are your gifts? There's a story that when babies come into the world, their fists are closed. And when they open their fists, they release their gifts into the world. And so with my children, it's, what are your gifts? I don't want to tell you what your gifts are. You have to tell me what they are. When you discover them, where is your passion? What sets your soul on fire? What ignites your soul? Those are the gifts that you have, and it's your job to share them with the world.
Beautifully said, sweetheart. It's, wow. I appreciate the way you said it, as well as, when they were little, as physical needs, but now it's more mental, of course. Even though the way that you've been talking about your kids, you did a lot of mental work when they were little as well. And definitely what you said, as you are their biggest fan, in the sense of, you're the supporting cast and they're like the main lead. And that's the way it definitely should be, because even though I personally know, because we talked about it the other day, that you're a unit and you work together, and that ties into like our next question, of course. At the end of the day, you are their biggest fan and supporter. So what happens when I was listening to all this is what you said. A lot of parents do all the talking, and that's not really the way it works, because, at the end of the day, much like we were saying before, they are humans, they're not perfect, and they're learning the ropes, much like anyone at any age is. So, yeah. So, leading to the next question, obviously, how has being an online family changed you? Yeah.
So I think it's made us stronger as a family, because, we work together, we create together. There has to be a level of mutual respect. And so this is not like a one-way street, which is what I was raised with. Oh, I'm the parent, so you respect me because I'm older. It's like, no, 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 no. We don't parent like that anymore. There is mutual respect. There is mutual consideration. I want the best for you, and you want the best for me. And that means that we're going to have some brutal conversations, but we have to leave our egos at the door. And so if my child says to me, I didn't like this, or I don't want to do this, it's nothing personal. And I have to remember that as a woman, as a mother, that these are the conversations that I want. I want my child to express themselves. And so if we're going to film something, and maybe they didn't have a good night's sleep, or they're hungry, or they'd rather talk to their friend, or they have homework, or they have studying, we don't film. They know that when they don't want to film, the cameras are off, and they always have the option to walk away from all of this. Like, we don't need to do this forever. It's only as long as they're happy. But I think that it's beneficial, like, because when I do ask them, and I check in daily with them, they're like, no, we love this, Mama. This is amazing. It's a huge blessing what we do as a family. And we do affect so many people's lives, not just by entertaining them. Comedy, it's great, but it's the messages that we get from kids who are in their rooms, like this 14-year-old girl who messaged me, who is crying in her room watching our videos. And she's like, Mama B, I just want you to know that you give me hope in what a family should look like, because I'm in my room. My parents are downstairs fighting. They're going to get a divorce. There's so much fighting in my house and yelling that all I do is I lock myself in my room and I watch your videos. And so I say so I show my kids, right? Because I'm like, guys, this is why we do what we do. There is a bigger goal here. There is, this is not coincidence that we were put in this role. I truly believe that this was appointed
Definitely.
by God. And that's why we have a huge, picture of Jesus at the entrance of our home and a huge Buddha, because I believe that this is divine appointment to heal people's hearts, to heal their homes, to just show people that, guys, life is so short, and we are on this earth for a blink of an eye. We are a grain of salt, and we concern ourselves with the dumbest things, and we get angry with the people that we love. and there's drama. Like I know families who have so much drama, and it's like, oh my God, if you guys could only detach and let go from that drama, life can be so wonderful. This can be your heaven. I believe that this life on earth can be your heaven or it can be your hell. And so much of it is what we have in our minds. Like we need to retrain our minds into not grasping onto like that negativity, the drama,
Yeah,
the anger, the
definitely.
fear, you know? And so I know that went off a little bit, but
It's all good, girl. I'm pretty darn sure that our audience is loving it as much as I am right now.
oh, thank you.
I definitely loved how you said, and you mixed in, um, you have content with purpose.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first thing that came to my mind when I heard your answer. And I feel like hopefully in general everything that I do can seem that way, because I feel like everything I want to do has to have a purpose, has to have that message, and not definitely the superficial side, because it just doesn't align with who I am.
Right. Well, it's easy, right? It's easy. It's really easy. And so I think that, the meaning of life is a life of meaning. And so, yeah, we can all show our boobs and get like 80 million views. It's very easy. Or we can talk about educational stuff and really important stuff. And, it doesn't get the attention like the other stuff. But it just feels so much better to live a life like that.
Exactly, definitely. I know we touched on the subject in the previous one as well, because sorry for all of you, but this is why we're repeating the same topics, the one that didn't get recorded. And when we met, like, we went into it a little bit more of that moment, but anyways, when we're talking about those kind of pictures that are quote unquote sexy, I pointed out like the body positive ones, because I feel like those are kind of making a difference,
Mhm.
as in not only like big platforms and big brands that I know that I've noticed, of course, but as women that are, who look like me, who are a little bit thicker, who are definitely curvy and whatnot, we are seeing ourselves a bit more represented. But when I see them, I don't see them as like, oh my God, they're using their bodies for likes. Like, no, there's a humongous difference. And I got asked that a lot. It's like, what's the difference between A and B? And I'm like, well, one is clearly just there for the likes, and you can tell. Whereas in point B, people who are wearing those bikinis, having those kind of different kind of bodies, you
Mhm.
read the caption. I feel like I follow a few people, and literally their bio is, you don't know anything until you read the caption. In other words, don't judge a book by its cover. Like you see the feed, I'm
Right.
like, yeah, and these are, so it is. I always want to declare that a little bit as well, like make sure that's clear, because
Yeah.
one thing is not like the other. And you and me are definitely pro body positive and loving ourselves,
Of
which we
course.
did talk about that, of course. But before we talk a little bit more about self-love, um, so very quickly now, because I feel like you know the answer a little bit faster, because they're teenagers, how would they describe you, your husband, and their life? I know it's kind of hard to say that really quickly, but I mean, they're teenagers and you do have that open communication, so I'm sure they've said something.
Um, well, I know they say that they're very grateful for us as parents. They say things like, we're so lucky to have you as parents. And they know that as long as they're keeping up their end of the bargain. And what I mean by that is just being good human beings, working really hard in school. Education is number one in this home. Um, Being good stewards of the earth, right? And so not throwing garbage everywhere, not being mean, not, putting other people down, not hurting anyone or anything or any animal, then we're super easy parents. It's a two-way street. So you make life easy for us, we make life easy for you. And so I'll go out of my way, to make them really cool, fancy meals, because I'm grateful for what they're doing when they're, online schooling all day long. But I know that my kids think I'm a little bit crazy. Like they've compared me to a little bit of Cardi B, Mother Teresa, Gandhi, Queen Latifah. Like, we all have light and dark. And I have a lot of love, but I also have a bit of a crazy streak, because I've been through a lot in life. I've suffered a lot and I've come out on the other side. And I will not allow anyone to hurt me or my family ever. And so, you know, I I always say I am a lion and I am a sheep. And it depends on the energy you bring to me, whether you get the lion, no, not the sheep, the deer. I am a lion and I am a deer. And depending on your energy is whether you get the lion or the deer. And so, yeah, I just think that I think my kids are grateful, but it's not easy having Mama B as your mom. I expect a lot.
See, I hope that you all like resonate with that as well, that you don't see her
Yeah.
as picture perfect, because no
Oh
one
God, no.
is. Like,
No.
please. Like,
But
of
with
course.
kids, I think you expect a lot, you get a lot. You expect
Yeah.
a little, you get a little. And I think that, we are all capable of so much more than we know, that we give ourselves credit for. Like, stop acting small, stop living small. You are,
You're made
you
for
are this
big
magnificent
stuff.
soul. Yeah. You have the ability and the capacity to make all your dreams come true in this lifetime, but you got to go for it. You got to live large.
Definitely. What words of advice have you always given them?
Um, Definitely be true to yourself. Uh, Stop living a life that other people want you to live. And don't believe everything you hear. Question everything. We live in a world where literally it's like the upside down world. Like, nothing is true.
Stranger Things much, but yes.
It is. That's what I say to them, is Stranger Things. That's like this world where it's the upside down
Yeah.
world. Actually, everything is false. Don't believe anything. You wonder why people have so much anxiety and depression. Well, when we can't trust governments, you can't trust media, you're fed lies. Like, nothing is what it seems. So question everything and find the answers yourself. Don't believe me just because I'm your mother. Like, I'm doing the very best, but I'm also human and I'm also going to make mistakes. Go and search for the answers. And sometimes those
Exactly.
answers or those questions are going to take you to the other side of the world to answer them. Like, for me, I wanted to face my ultimate fear, which was death. And so I traveled to Nepal to climb a mountain,
Yeah, that's
and
right.
literally I was sliding off the mountain and I thought I was going to die, and I'm on this mountain saying, oh my God, what am I doing here? I have this amazing family at home, these two beautiful children, I'm never going to see them again. But I faced my ultimate fear and I survived. And let me tell you, I am so grateful now for my life each and every day, and for my family, that I would never put myself in danger like that again. I mean, I would climb a mountain again, don't get me wrong,
Just not that mountain.
just not that mountain. But
Been there, done that.
yeah, it's like, trust yourself, trust your soul, and don't listen to other people's opinions of you. There should be a handful of people in this life that you listen to, people who have proven that they have your back, that they have your best interest at heart. Because unfortunately, there are a lot of people out there who are jealous, who don't want to see you succeed because of their own insecurities and fears. And so don't trust and listen to everything that you hear. You do have an inner innate wisdom that's inside of you. You just need to learn how to trust it and listen to it.
Exactly. Love it. So now that they're older, obviously, they're 15 and Gabby's about to be 14 in September, correct?
Right.
So 14, 15, basically, more or less. And you have your own platform, of course. How has that relationship changed, and what is your vision for them? Because up to now, up to recently, all you did was videos together. That's all you had. But now she has her own channel. He has his own channel. You have your own channel. Well, probably
Mhm.
sticks with your Ehbee channel.
He's the
But yeah,
mastermind.
exactly. So he has that one. We know where to find him. So how has that changed? And what's your
I,
vision for them? Sorry, within what they're doing within their own channels.
I think it's to encourage them to continue to do whatever interests them. So right now, for my daughter, it's music. She's been on 2 tours. Actually, she's been on 2 US tours and one European tour. She was supposed to tour again in August, but it's been canceled. And for my son, it's gaming. And we're really trying to help them to be really strong leaders, role models, because a lot of kids look up to them. And it's our job as parents to make sure that they are good, decent human beings, and that the messages that are coming out of them reflect that. So, for example, my daughter stands for the LGBTQ community. Well, we all do as a family, but she actually joined the club at school. And it was a very proud moment for me as a mother, because, we've been having these conversations since they were little. in saying, there's an LGBTQ community. And I would say to them, if you are gay, please don't hide. Don't hide it. Tell me. We will celebrate you. We will have a big banquet to celebrate you and whoever you are inside. But don't ever hide who you are from the world, because there's nothing wrong with being gay or transgender or whatever. And so, and my son, it comes out very clearly that he's a very sweet, gentle boy. He's like me. We're empaths. We're very introverted. And it's okay to be that. And there's been a lot of boys who have messaged him saying, I'm just like you, but I've never encountered another boy like you. And it's just really nice to watch you and to listen to you. And there's boys who will say, oh, did you drop out of school to be a gamer? And my son will say, no, the education is the most important thing. And so it's just
so cute.
yeah, it's just letting them now be their own superstar. So instead of being attached to the Ehbee name, now they are their own person. Of course, with us very closely monitoring everything and making sure that they are safe,
Oh, you
especially
do. I
online.
know you do.
Because let's be honest, we live in a scary world, and there are people who are predators on children. And but yeah, it's just, the sky's the limit. Go for it. We're here, and we're just going to keep lifting you up.
Definitely. I mean, I love the message they give out, of course, and the content they do. I know Gabby with her music, Roberto, mejor dicho, Spanish.
Both.
Roberto y Gabriela, with his gaming and whatnot. And you can definitely see that. Plus, I mean, we're not going to get too dive into it right now, but when you were talking about your content, I remember that you guys also read mean comments.
Yeah.
And you have these videos about that because you want, like, this is what I was telling you, or like I was telling the audience in general, that you can clearly see with the videos that you produce that you make sure that your kids know there's negativity in the world and how to handle negativity.
Mm-hmm.
And also the message that they're giving out is so important to know how to handle that, because they are role models. So you do see in various videos, if not all of them, but that mix of both, and I love it. I just love it.
Oh, thank
I
you.
know it's going to be a really, really difficult question, but just give us one, please. One of your favorite moments with them.
Oh man, there's a lot of favorite moments. Actually, there was a moment yesterday that was awesome because my daughter and my husband were downstairs. She was recording a new song, and my son was outside, and we have a hoverboard,
Mm-hmm.
hoverboards, and my husband's had it for years, and he never wanted my son to ride it because it is dangerous.
Yeah.
So, it's always been, don't do it, don't touch it, don't touch it. And so my son had it, and he was looking at me, and I'm like, go for it, do it. And I remember my husband had said to him, just make sure you don't step off forward. Whenever you step off of it, it has to be towards the back. And so he was riding it, doing great. I was sitting out there watching him the whole time. And doesn't he step forward and wipes out? Like, I mean, airborne, falls on his butt. And so I'm looking at him, and I wait a couple of seconds, and he's like, oh, he's in a lot of pain on the ground. And I walk over to him, and I hugged him, and he was like trying to get up, but you could tell he was in a lot of pain. But, he was afraid of maybe someone watching him or looking stupid or whatever the case was. And I said, just stay down. Are you okay? Can you walk? And he was like, Mama, I'm so surprised by the way you reacted. I thought for sure you would get mad. I'm like, why would I get mad? Now you know, and you've learned that when you step off, you have to step back. But this is life. How can you ever learn anything if you don't take chances, if you don't go for it, if you don't fall, if you don't make mistakes? And don't be so hard on yourself, because he was like, oh, I'm so stupid. And I said, no, you're not. Don't ever say that about yourself. Like, you are listening to the words that you're saying to yourself. No, say, listen, I did it. And yes, I fell, but guess what? I'm not going to make that same mistake next time. And so we both had a good laugh, came inside. He's still in a little bit of pain, but it's those moments where I'm saying to him, like, do it, go for it. Because eventually I want to bring you to Nepal to climb a mountain with you. I want you to have an adventurous heart. Don't be afraid. Don't go through
Exactly.
life with fear, because you are robbing yourself of really spectacular moments where you might fall, you might break a couple of bones or get a couple of bruises, but what a story to tell. I want you to look back on your life when you're 90, 100 years old and have the greatest stories to tell.
I appreciate that so much, and I love that so much, because I feel like it's a very empowering thing to say, and it's, once again, everything we're talking about is just the clear new way of educating children and to have better adults in this world, without a doubt.
Mhm.
You reminded me of Lorraine. She's also a mom of two, a 19-year-old and a 15-year-old, almost 16. And go back to listen to our episode with her for Mother's Day, because she said something similar as well. And she was like, doesn't matter if they fall, I have to make sure that they know that they can fall, but learn how to get back up. And she also had one of those moments. I'm like, that's just perfect, because it's that, of course.
Yeah, like old school parenting, they would yell at you. Do you remember
Yeah,
that?
exactly. Yeah.
Like you would fall or make a mistake and you would get yelled at.
You're like, what do I do? I don't know any better. I'm learning. Leave me
Like
alone.
I remember my sister fell down the stairs, wiped out, fell down like 15 steps, and my mom reamed her out and and I remember being a kid and looking at my mom going, "Are you nuts? She just fell. She's like in agony and you're yelling at her." And that's when I realized, like, oh, you guys don't know how to parent, man. You guys
No,
don't know
like, I
how to
love
feel.
you all, but seriously, like,
Yeah, it's
no.
like they
Like,
already feel bad enough. They don't
exactly.
they don't need to be ridiculed or mocked or,
And we all make
no.
mistakes. I'm clumsy as F. Like,
Yeah.
I fall down a
Same.
lot. And I fall down in really big scenarios as well, that you would think it's very embarrassing. But I'm like, I'm a person. Like, that's all I got with that one.
Yeah.
Like, that's
I'm
it.
still learning how to walk down the stairs. So
I've done that a few times, so it's all good. Um, so we're almost wrapping things up. I really love this question because I'm sure it's probably changed throughout the years. So how do you self-care every day?
okay, so my self-care routine is every morning is coffee. Love
Oh,
my coffee. I must start the day with 2 cups of coffee.
tu cafecito.
Dos cafecitos, mi amor, dos café con leche. And my self-care is dancing. I listen to very empowering music first thing in the morning, and it gets me going. Like, I want people to know that I have more bad days than good days. As a trauma survivor, as, someone living in this world where there's so much uncertainty, again, like the false information, I have to build myself up to be the best Rosanna I can be, the best mother, the best wife, the best human, the best social media teacher, guru, whatever, right?
Mastermind, everything.
Everything. And so it's exercise. That is like, it's not even about what I look like anymore. Exercise to me, it's if I have a strong body, I have a strong mind. I feel strong. I feel empowered. I burn off all that energy, a lot of that like anger, frustration I feel for different issues in the world because I'm passionate about social justice. And so exercise to me is just, a way that I can burn that off. Dancing, eating well, definitely. Like, of course, do I love my cheeseburgers and fries and pizza and chicken wings?
I
Yes,
mean, who
yes,
doesn't?
and yes. Give it to me all. But, your body is your temple. And very much like now more than ever, as I get older, my body will reject stuff. It's like, no, I don't think so, honey. We don't eat like that like we used to 20 years ago. Like, I love salads, I love beets. Um, clean eating just makes me feel better. And so, definitely the fuel that you put into your body, like input, output, and really good sleep. Like, you cannot go to bed at 2, 3, 4 in the morning, wake up at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It's just not good for you. And I find that when I don't sleep well, I'm very hungry and I tend to eat more. Like, I have more of an appetite. And so definitely sleeping well, reading, and being very careful of who I spend my energy with and who I'm around. That, I think, is the most valuable piece of information. It's so important.
I'm here like nodding my head like crazy people, I swear. I'm like, yes to all of this. Especially like you said, the last one. Everyone has their own kind of energy. There's toxics and there's not, and there's lighters, and there's a lot of terminology we can use here, of course.
Right.
Just what I always tell our audience and friends and people in general, make sure that you're following something that you love and makes you feel good and happy, whether it's be social media, whether it be as a YouTuber, for example, whether it be anything you're watching, or even people that you're surrounded by. I feel like that's something super important, and know where you're investing your energy every single day, and if that's where you want to be.
Yeah.
The first thing you said, the 2 cents I want to say is what you said, and I loved it. And it has to be super clear for anyone who's listening, please. We have more bad days than good days, because that resonated with me 110 million percent.
Yeah.
Not 110%, 110 million%. Because a lot of people come and DM me and whatever and email me and saying, hey, it's so easy. Like, you make it seem so easy sometimes, or like, you're always so positive, and how do you do it? I'm like, well, there are tips and tricks I tell you through my wellness program, through just my social media in general, of course. But I also make sure I leave a clear example of we don't always have good days. As you just said, like, most of it is bad days.
Yeah.
We just find the right tools and ways to overcome it. I'm not going to repeat any more right now, because you just said a whole lot right now about routine yoga and healthy eating and mind, body, soul. But it is something super fundamental. And I feel like with my audience, if you followed me long enough through any of my platforms today, tomorrow, in general, you do see, and I do mention, today's not a good day for me. I'm going to take a mental break, or I'm going to take longer responding because I just don't feel well, or vice versa. It's being authentic, not only towards you, but towards me and what resonates with me.
Totally.
So that's self-care, and that's self-care that Rossana is all about, and of course with me. And spinning this a little bit further about self-care, what would you say to your younger self?
What would I say to my younger self? Oh man. I would say there is purpose to all of your pain. And just have faith. So I remember being in my 20s, and so much crap had happened to me. Like, it was like one after another. And I remember being on my hands and knees and looking up at the sky and saying, God, why do I have to suffer so much? Why is there so much pain in my life? And it just seemed like one situation after another. Whereas now, here I am, like 20 years later, and I am so grateful for each and every one of those opportunities. I call them opportunities now, because God had a bigger plan for me. There was a bigger plan, and I thought I was walking alone. But, like, you know, the poem Footsteps in the Sand, or Footprints in the Sand, where those times where you thought you were alone, God was carrying you. And I wasn't alone. And there is this connection to God and to the universe and to something bigger. Like, if you had told me 10 years ago that I would be here as Mama B with this massive audience and people would be listening to me, like, listen, I used to clean people's houses. You know, like, I used to clean people's homes when the kids were little, when my husband was laid off. And people don't know that about me. They think I've lived this glamorous life my whole entire life. No, I've been in the trenches. I know what it's like. But there was so much, like, the path was carved out for me. No matter what happened, there was purpose there. And so even if you're going through the worst things, just do what you can to get through it. You know, the bad times don't last forever. There's good times, there's bad times in life. Don't focus on the bad, and just try to control your mind, because our minds can be our worst enemies. Like, if I allow my mind to dominate my life, I will live in darkness 24 hours a day. And so just because it's your mind, don't think that, you know, it's on board with all of the things that are positive and good for you. You have to condition yourself to focus on the good and to appreciate the bad, because that's what brought you to where you are today. You are a warrior. We are all warriors. And it's when you can walk through the fire and you come out with buckets of water for the other people who are still in the fire, then I believe that you are the alchemist, because you have turned pain into power, fear into love.
All right, there goes my tears. I I must say, I know we're almost wrapping up, and I know it's been a super special episode for many reasons, with or without it being throughout the whole special Mother's Day edition of 2020. I agree, of course, with what you said because of that. I've been asked that before, and I've always said the same thing. I'm who I am today because of what I've been through. That doesn't define me. That has shaped me for who I am today. I love the fact that you're able to say, it's like, oh, I cleaned houses, and I could say like, oh, I've had 3 jobs and
Yeah.
I've worked really hard. It's not always been this way. And top of that saying is like, oh, who would have told me 10 years ago I am where I am now?
Right.
So throughout any of your messages and my messages, the whole shebang, basically, it's that like just keep pushing yourself and keep moving forward because you're here for a reason. And I can definitely guarantee with you as your one of your number one fans at this point already of life, um, seriously seeing that in you and appreciating that. So we're basically 3 questions really quickly. One of my favorite ones for all the moms, actually. This is a super special question that each and every one of the moms that we've interviewed loved. So imagine it is talking about 10 years, 10 years down the road. And Roberto and Gabriela, who
Mm.
would be what, I can't think anymore, 25 and almost 24, basically. They've come across this episode. What would you say to them?
Um, you have the capacity to make all your dreams come true. And don't ever stop believing in yourself. Follow your heart, even if your heart takes you to the most bizarre places in the world. There are things that you will achieve that may completely not be aligned with who you think you are, because your identity is going to change so much in this lifetime. So don't hang on to any one identity that you think you are, because you will change so much in this lifetime. You will grow, you will expand, and you will shine your light and your love out to the whole entire world.
And how do I continue asking her the last 2 questions you may ask? Who knows? But thankfully, they're only 2. They're literally only 2. All right. So, while I keep crying in this little corner of mine,
I
happy
wish I could give
tears.
you some tissues. I have a lot of tissues here. Do you need some tissues and toilet paper?
I know, right? It's like here. Oh my goodness. What are you thankful for, Miss Rossana Burgos?
I'm thankful, obviously, for my family. I'm very grateful for my husband, for my kids. I'm thankful for this life that has been both difficult and wonderful. I'm thankful that I've finally come to know who I am, that I went on a search, if you will, about 12 years ago. I wanted to understand suffering and pain. And this journey has taken me literally around the world. And I've gotten so many answers to life's questions. And now I'm at a point where I know who I am. I know that I am connected to divinity. I know that I have a purpose, that I have love and light inside of me, not just for myself and my family, but for the whole entire world. And that's all I want for the world. I want to leave the world a better place than I found it. And so I'm grateful for humanity. I'm grateful for the world. I'm grateful for the good and the bad. I'm grateful for it all.
Thank you very much for being here with us today, without a doubt. And May 31st. Remember, there's more will be coming over here. Yeah. My last question, obviously, unless you want to add anything else, which you're definitely allowed to. Where can we find you? Even though links are always dropped down below.
You can find us pretty much on any platform, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. What's the one that you like?
TikTok.
TikTok. Of course. We're everywhere.
They are everywhere. I'll put all the links everywhere. I mean, they're easy to find. And follow them everywhere. Just even her kids, of course. It's just
Yeah.
whenever you need that pick me up, whenever you need someone real and raw, then that's Rossana Burgos and her whole family.
Oh, thank you.
I'm thrilled and honored and blessed to have you in my life, to be able to talk to you, to be able to share this podcast episode, to see our worlds collide and turning into one, because I believe that we're all a community, like you said, humanity, like you said. Believe me when I say my door is always open for absolutely everything. And it's not even like a collab thing. It's kind of like just in general, of course. Yeah. And to make sure that our communities also, of course, understand and have that and see that message. And I'm all here with an open heart, mind, ears, and soul.
Amazing.
So,
I wish you all the very best. And thank you so much. Like, it's been such a pleasure and an honor being with you. Thank you for putting so much thought into your questions. I really appreciated, your preparation, your diligence, your passion, your commitment. You are an incredible human being. And it's just been an incredible opportunity for me too, because as someone who values authenticity, I see that in you. I honor you. I respect you. I love you. And I wish for
I
only the
love you
very best for
too.
you. I'm just shining so much love and
Oh, I
light
feel it. I feel
onto
it.
you right now, because I want people like you to win. I want you to succeed. I want you to achieve everything you've ever wanted. And I can't wait to see that happen.
Oh, I know that if there's anything I know about you, you're definitely cheerleading much like I am with everyone I love. So I appreciate that so much. Thank you so much for being here. I have to close the show now saying with a teary face, saying that she is still with us till May 31st. And as always, we have new episodes. We're at thealwaysbeliever.com. As always, we're in every single social media you can find. I also have my personal IG that I just started, which is the.ariadna.arredondo. But if you go to The Always Believer, you'll find the link there. That's for everything personal, actually. Anything that goes from coaching to a super special secret project that's coming up in June for the Latinx community, whether you're part of it or not, just in general, which I know Mombi will come and join us for that wild ride that I'm so excited. I just maybe that, I swear. Dreams do come true. Knock on those doors. That's all I can say. But seriously, whatever you need, my doors are always open. I'm thankful to have you. I'm thankful to have each and every one of you listening in every single week and through everything else I do. So there you go. Happy Mother's Day as well. It is Mother's Day, but for me, Mother's Day is every day. We should be celebrated every day as women and as mothers. So go enjoy your day now. All right. Thank you very much for being here once more.
Thank you so much. And happy Mother's Day to everybody.
Yeah.